In yesterday's video, I talked about what we worship. Now, the way we might often think of that question, at least maybe should think of that question, is who do we worship? And in a Christian context, obviously we should worship God, but we will worship a lot of different people, perhaps for what we want them to do, for what we hope they would do, perhaps for what they've done or what we want them to do again. But as we think about that, we can see this throughout history. And for the Jew, a part of their pride, a part of why they worshiped was their heritage. Again, they were God's chosen people. And a part of that pride was rightfully theirs. They should have been prideful about that. But that boasting, that pride got in their way. Again, God had chosen to bring them out of Egypt. That was a special calling. That was a special purpose for a special people. And they should have appreciated that. And they should have been proud of that. But their pride should have caused them to worship the one who had delivered them, not themselves. So, when that pride becomes our focus, um, things happen. Our perspective changes, and a part of that pride, a part of that heritage for them was their circumcision. It's interesting that the act of circumcision, the actual literal act of circumcision, is talked about so little in the Bible, and yet it receives so much attention because of the importance in the Jews. One commentator shared a reminder that the main text on this literal circumcision comes in only four passages. Genesis chapter 17, which is the first time that we have circumcision introduced in the Bible, Exodus 4:26, Leviticus 12:3, and Joshua 5:2 through 8. After Joshua, the literal act of circumcision really isn't mentioned again in a very literal sense, in an important sense, and yet it carries so much weight throughout the Bible. The Jewish people, the commentator said this, the Jewish people emphasized it especially rigorously in the centuries before Paul's day as a significant distinctive of national identity. To recognize something, quote unquote, especially rigorously, well, I would say that borderlines on worship. Paul often wrote against circumcision, but he never really argued against the act itself. In fact, Paul says that circumcision is of value, but only if you obey the law. Romans 2:25. Otherwise, he says you may as well not be circumcised. Those who are uncircumcised are being better and are showing themselves to be more of God's people than those who are circumcised if they are indeed obedient. Paul's issue with circumcision was really twofold. Number one, it was a disregard of the law by the people who were chosen to follow the law. And number two, it was of his problem, his challenge with it, was the enforcement of this custom against people to indoctrinate them into the Jewish practice of circumcision. Again, this was like the Judaizers that are mentioned in Philippians, or especially in Galatians, that were coming to new Gentile Christians and saying, if you really want to be a Christian, you must be circumcised. That is where Paul had the issue with circumcision. Well, as we think about it, Paul's greater concern was not their physical circumcision. It was spiritual circumcision. We see this from the Old Testament in Deuteronomy 10:16, in Deuteronomy 30, verse 6, also in Leviticus 26:41, Jeremiah 4:4, Jeremiah 9, verses 25 and 26, and also a reference in Ezekiel 44, verses 7 and 9. It was circumcision of the heart, which may not be evident to the human eye, but what is really important to the eye that matters, that is the eye of God. It is what is internal that is matter, not this external marking that truly matters. God knows what is done in secret. In fact, as we saw a couple of weeks ago, Romans 2:16, God judges the secret things, but he knows what is done in secret. We see this in Matthew 6, where we are to give in secret and to pray in secret and to fast in secret, as he says. But what Paul makes abundantly clear is that it is not the outward sign that is important to us. It is not circumcision as a Jew that was important. And for you and I, it's not about our baptism. Yes, baptism is important. Paul wrote to the Jew then that without continued obedience, that circumcision would mean nothing. Likewise, to the Christian today, he would say baptism is important, but without continued obedience, it really doesn't matter. Now, I really can't judge properly if somebody was baptized, whether or not that they are truly following or not. I can have my intuition about it, but only God truly knows. Only God knows the heart. And the Bible that I read does say that baptism is important. We are to follow Jesus' example in Matthew chapter 3. We are to baptize in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit according to the Great Commission, Matthew 28:19. But Jesus' words were specifically follow me in Matthew 4, which is more than about being dunked in water. It is about living a life that is pleasing to the Lord. So, is your faith secure? Well, is it something that you have done that you think makes your faith secure, or was it something that was done for you? What makes our faith secure is what Jesus did for us, not the fact that we were baptized, not the fact that we walked an aisle, not the fact that we said a prayer. Any of those can be important, but Jesus said, follow me. And if we are to please him, we are following him because of what he has already done for us. What we do for Jesus shows him that our faith is real. So is your faith secure? Well, are you doing something for Jesus? My encouragement to you today is to show Jesus that your faith is real.